candidates for the 416th District Court. And they'll be seated in the following order: Andrea Kelly Bouressa. Sorry. Yes. Bouressa, okay. Garner, Michael Puhl, and Andrea Thompson. And now, do we need to move the tables down just a little bit? Michael, maybe you and Lon could help, just if we can shift those tables down just a wee bit here so that we can see all of you. Well, welcome. Each of you we're going to start with Andrea Kelly Bouressa, and you have 1.5 minutes to your opening speech.
Thank you. As you mentioned, I'm Andrea Kelly Bouressa. I'm running for the 416th District Court, and although I have the privilege of getting to go first this evening, I'm the last of the 4 candidates on the ballot. I am running for the 416th District Court because I believe that a judge is a public servant. It's not a career track, it's a public office. And I want to make sure that we have strong public servants on the bench who have deep respect for the role of the judiciary and who are going to abide the role that they are intended to play as trial court judges, which we'll talk about, I'm sure, more as the evening goes on. I grew up in Bryan, College Station, lived kind of all over the state. I graduated from Texas A&M University in 2002. Then worked my way through graduate school at the University of North Texas in Denton. I have a master's in sociology. And from there, I was working for the United States Senate, decided that I really felt a drawing toward advocacy, and ended up getting a Dean Scholarship to SMU School of Law. I graduated from there in 2008. I was one of 10 students in my graduating class. It was named to the Order of Barristers, which is a national honor that recognizes students for excellence in advocacy skills and service. That's sort of my background. I've been in Collin County with my husband Chris for 12 years. We've got 2 kids, and I look forward to telling you more about my experience and background tonight. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that. Alon, you're next, sir.
Thank you. My name is Garner, and I'm a trial lawyer. I try cases. That's what I do. Background, graduated from Jacksboro, Texas, Jacksboro High School. Went to Texas A&M, graduated there. While I was there, I was a member of the Corps of Cadets. I was also a member of the Fight Texas Aggie football team. Once I left Texas A&M, I went to St. Mary's. Leaving St. Mary's, I came to Collin County, where I served the community as an assistant district attorney for 4 years. After leaving the district attorney's office, I went downtown and worked at the big firm. Touched on grenades, doing insurance defense. Loved the money, hated the job. Came home one night, and my daughter rolled away from me like she didn't know me. At that point in time, I knew it was time to get out of there. I started a private practice. I've been in private practice here in Collin County for the past 10 years. I am running for judge because I believe I have the experience to make a great judge. I've tried cases from Plainview to Tyler, from Sulphur Springs to San Antonio. I've been in front of good judges. I've been in front of bad judges. I've been in front of pro-state judges. I've been in front of pro-defense judges. I think I can take something from each of them and be a great judge. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Lon. Michael, you're next.
I am Michael Puhl, and I was born a conservative Republican. My parents were Republicans, and from the time I could vote 41 years ago, I have always voted Republican. I've never supported a Democrat, contributed to a Democrat, or been a part of any, working with Democrats. I believe in the conservative values of this party. I believe in God, faith, family, and service. I'm proud to be married to my wife Susan, who is out here for 35 years. I have 2 wonderful children, Megan and Ryan, and I hope that I have raised them the right way through this time. I have been in service my entire life, from the time I was very young. I have contributed back to my communities, and I feel that it's very important. I've been on school boards, I've been on city boards, I've been on state commissions, and in every place I've tried to make a difference. I've given it time, I have not taken up space. For me, this is not a promotion, it's a passion, and I hope to be given the opportunity to serve as the next judge of the 416th District Court.
Thank you, Michael. Andrea, it is now your turn.
My name is Andrea Thompson. I'm running for judge of the 416th. My family moved here to Collin County in 1977, so I've lived here most of my life. I graduated from Plano Senior High School, went on to get my undergraduate degree from Texas A&M, crammed those 4 years into 7. Before I went on to Houston, where I got my law degree. I practiced in Houston for a couple of years before I hightailed it back here to Collin County, and opened my law practice in 2003. It was exclusively in the area of family law, and I did that until 2011 when our judges approached me and asked me to serve our county in the district clerk's office. As you all might remember, the district clerk's office had some issues, and it really needed some help. And so I spent the last 4 years there working very hard in that 4-year time frame. We went completely paperless. We implemented electronic civil filing and criminal filing, saved a few $1 million along the way for the county. I feel like it's really on the road to success and a great place for me to be able to return to my roots in the law, and that's why I am seeking this bench. I feel like it's the perfect combination of being able to combine my administrative strengths and what I've been able to learn about the county and the efficient and effective management of our court system, and combine that with my legal experience, and that will make me an effective judge for our county. So my name is Andrea Thompson, and I'm running for judge of the 416th, and I'm going to ask for your support. Thank you.
Andrea, keep that microphone right there. It's okay, if you please applaud for them for the excellent background. Andrea, you get the first question. So if you would please, what alternatives are available to the judiciary in settling family law disputes, and which ones do you feel are the most effective?
The two biggest are arbitration and mediation. And the judiciary can recommend both, they can also order both. It's up to the judge to try to help the attorneys in the case or the pro se litigants, if they're self-represented litigants, try to determine if that's going to be effective in their case. It isn't always. Certainly after doing it for as long as I did, you could identify cases where you just knew the parties were too far apart, no amount of negotiating or settling was going to do it. Black was black and white was white, and they were never going to meet in the middle. It was going to have to take a judge to do that. But the vast majority of cases were actually settled or could be settled at mediation. In fact, it has about a 99% success rate. So if we can get people to mediation, then that's an extremely effective tool. The thing that a judge can do is try to help the parties get there in the appropriate time in their litigation. If you go too soon, they don't have the discovery or the documentation or the information they need to actually, settle that because it's too soon. If you do it too late, maybe tensions have gotten too high, too much water under the bridge, and it could be too late. You just need to go ahead and go to trial. Arbitration is another process. The difference between arbitration and mediation is the parties can choose to agree to a settlement, but it's up to them to agree. Arbitration is a binding process on the parties. It's almost like a trial, but it's not necessarily the judge of that court. So those are the two processes.
Thank you, Andrea. Michael, I'll repeat the question for you. What alternatives are available to the judiciary in settling family law disputes, and which ones do you feel are the most effective?
Well, certainly, I think that the first thing that can help the courts is, when you have good judges or good lawyers, good lawyers help to reframe the way people think so that they can, and good lawyers will help direct their clients so that they won't need to have all the disputes in the first place. They have them understand that, children need to be raised by two parents, not just one. That families need to be worked on and look at different alternatives that the court cannot provide for them. Certainly in those instances where it's not possible for the parties to agree or for the attorneys to lead them down that path, then mediation certainly is the first alternative that we look at. I'm a certified mediator and have been for about the last 15 years. And it's, and we can help the courts by working very hard and getting good attorneys and clients to reach settlements that can be enforced by the courts. A mediated settlement agreement is the toughest contract in the law to break, so that's helpful for them. You can always, arbitration is, as counsel's told you here, is another alternative that's used far less, but it can get you to trial quicker. You can also use things like shadow juries, where you can get together people can. The judge can have some of these cases where you can try them before a group get an opinion that is not binding, and then that can be used by the parties to help resolve their disputes.
Thank you, Michael. Lon, it is your turn now, sir. And I'll read the question for you. What alternatives are available to the judiciary in settling family law disputes, and which ones do you feel are the most effective?
The two options, arbitration and mediation, are both effective. I believe that when you mediate cases in 10 years, I've had one case that wasn't settled in mediation. I do believe mediation helps alleviate the backlog of cases that we have in our courts. But at the end of the day, the best thing to make a case go away is the judge willing to hear the case. The delay in cases is not necessarily caused by the backlog. The delay in cases is caused by the attorneys. The attorneys will go in, they'll request a continuance, they won't do the discovery, they won't do anything in a timely manner. You have to have a judge who's going to hold their feet to the fire and say, you know what, no continuances, no nothing, we're going to try the case today. My firm belief is nothing makes a case go away like a judge who's willing to hear that case. Mediation, does it work? Yes, sir, it does. Arbitration, does it work? Yes, it does. Can you order the cases to go there? Yes, you can. But at the end of the day, you're still going to have cases which are set, and the only thing that's going to make those go away is the judge who's ready to hear those cases. And I won't be that person. Thank you.
Thank you, Lon. And now, Andrea, it's your turn, please. And the question again, what alternatives are available to the judiciary in settling family law disputes, and which ones do you feel are the most effective?
Well, I think in family disputes, especially with children involved, it's very important to be able to use the tool of mediation to try to get the adults that are caring for those children to find common ground and be able to reach points of agreement so that you know that moving forward, they will be able to continue to reach points of agreement. That's obviously in the best interest of the children to reduce the conflict between the adults involved. So absolutely, mediation, arbitration, and things that have been mentioned can be great tools. And as Lon mentioned, efficient dockets help to promote the use of those tools and make good, valuable use of them. There's no point in going to mediation if counsel hasn't done the legwork to get a sense of what the facts and disputes are in a particular case. That's true not just in family, but across the bench, or across the docket. I can tell you when I've walked into a mediation, I know whether plaintiff's counsel has looked at his client's case or not. It's very obvious from the opening session whether they are prepared. If they're not prepared, there's not going to be any progress. So it's absolutely important for courts to hold counsel to their deadlines and to make sure that they're preparing these cases so that those tools can be used efficiently. However, I would say that we need to be cautious not to encourage parties to accept compromise in the place of justice. We do need to be judicious in how we use these tools and not let parties feel coerced into agreeing to something that's not consistent with their principles. So I think I'm out of time.
Thank you, Andrea. We'll pass the mic to Lon. Lon, we're going to start with question number 2, and you'll get the first chance on this one. Very simply, a lot of things come before the United States Supreme Court. So tell us, who do you admire on that court and why?
Very easy. The United States Supreme Court, I admire Justice Kennedy. Kennedy does what's right or what's best for the country. He's the swing vote in a lot of decisions. He doesn't play party, he doesn't play favorites, he does what is best for the country. I admire him for having the courage to do what is right. Oftentimes the decision he makes doesn't make everybody happy. You can't do that being a judge. Sometimes you're going to make somebody mad. As an attorney, I know that sometimes I make my clients mad. They don't like what I tell them. But I do admire Kennedy for standing up and doing what is best for our country. Thank you.
Thank you, Lon, very much. Michael, it's your turn, and the question again for you is, who do you admire on the United States Supreme Court and why?
I would say that I would admire most Justice Antonin Scalia, because I think of all the judges, there's a judge that will follow the rule of law. We have too much judicial activism going on in our appellate and Supreme Courts. The Constitution by itself is a perfect document. We don't need to reinterpret it based on what public opinion is today. We need to follow that Constitution. And if there are amendments that need to be made to it, we need to do that through the vote of the citizens. And so I really appreciate the opinions of Justice Scalia, because he will follow that rule of law and not waver from it.
Thank you. Andrea, you're next. The question again is, why do you admire the United States Supreme Court, and who do you admire, and why do you admire?
I would agree. I admire Justice Scalia for the same reason. He's an unwavering constitutional justice. He has said time and time again that it is not a living, breathing document. It is written in stone, and it is not up to the justices to change it. One of the things that he's said very recently is that it's up to the states to determine the laws that they want to live under, and that it shouldn't be the Supreme Court that's changing them, most specifically in the dissent on the traditional marriage ruling that they just had recently, which is if you can get your state to agree to the things and the ways that you want your state to live, then you should be able to live that way, and it shouldn't be up to the justices to determine for the entire country how you want them to live. And I agree with that completely. Unfortunately, he is no spring chicken, which is why this next presidential election is so important. We cannot lose a justice like Scalia and have somebody put a liberal justice in his place. So that's a very, very important distinction in this next presidential election, and I think people need to be very careful about.
Well, thank you very much. Now, if you'll pass that all the way down to Andrea Bouressa. Andrea, I'll read the question to you one more time. Who do you admire on the United States Supreme Court, and why?
Well, I don't mean to sound like a broken record here, but I don't think there's anyone on the court today whose view of the Constitution more closely resembles my own than Justice Scalia. I absolutely agree that the Constitution needs to be interpreted according to its plain language. We don't need to try to manipulate it or twist it into something that it wasn't intended to be, which I think too many judges have a tendency to do. They look at a case and they see the outcome that they want, and they use bits and pieces of law to try to create a path to get there, as opposed to starting with the Constitution and simply following where it naturally leads. I also admire Justices Thomas and O'Connor and a number of others who have had the bravery to step forward and say that our states need to be laboratories. We don't need one-size-fits-all band-aids from the federal government on so many issues. And so I admire justices for being brave enough to step forward and limit what the federal government intends to control.
Is it just one that you want to pick out?
Scalia probably is the closely valued in terms of view of the Constitution.
Very good, thank you very much. If you'll pass that microphone down to Michael. Michael, we're going to start you on this as first on this next question here. I'd like you to address this. What do you feel is the one quality you bring to this office that sets you apart from the other candidates running for the 416th District Court?
I think the quality that would set me apart is experience. I have 34 years of continuous experience practicing law. And if all that counted for was the years, all that tell you is that I'm older than the other people here in the race. but through those 34 years, I've learned to listen and to hear and to really be able to learn distinctions and understand human character and all of those foibles, to be able to come in and to understand the law, and not just the words of the law, but what was meant by the creators of those laws, and looking at the construction of it so that we are following those laws. And through experience, I think I can do that a lot better.
Thank you very much, Michael. Andrea, it's now your turn. What do you feel is the one quality you bring to this office that sets you apart from the other candidates running for the 416th District Court?
Of course, I feel like I'm qualified with my law experience to be judge of this court, but one thing that you don't hear talked about a lot in judicial races is the other side of what judges have to do. That's the very important part of running their courtroom. And in addition to doing that, something that people don't realize is the judges are responsible for over 10% of the county's entire budget. And that's a significant part of the county's budget. In fact, what is concerning about that, or should be to people when you vote for this, is the Commissioner's Court has absolutely no oversight over that budget. And that means while they can control every other part of the budget, they can control financially what happens in the county, they have no ability to tell the judges yes or no, or have a veto over how the judges choose to spend that significant portion of the budget, which means it's important that we have people that understand what's going on in the county, how our county finances are managed. As a district clerk for the last 4 years, I had a $5 million annual budget. I was able to return almost $750,000 of that budget every year back to the county. In addition, over the 4 years that I was in office, we saved almost $3 million. So I have a proven conservative, consistent, economic and fiscally responsible budget, and that's a huge part of being a judge. Every day that someone is in jail, it's almost $75 in the county, can be up to $100. We need judges that recognize the financial impact on our citizens when people are in jail and try to move those cases through our system faster to save the taxpayers money. That's something I bring to the court.
Thank you so much. If you'll pass that microphone down at this time to Andrea. Andrea, would you address the same question? What do you feel is the one quality you bring to this office that sets you apart from the other candidates running for the 416?
Well, I think one of the biggest differences is the conviction that caused me to enter the race in the first place. When I stepped forward to run for the 416th District Court, it wasn't to run for an empty seat, it was to challenge an incumbent. I wanted to do that because I wanted to give the voters an opportunity to decide whether or not they still had faith in that court. My faith in that court had been shaken, and I felt compelled to step forward and give the voters the option of making a different choice. I didn't choose as a candidate the path of least resistance to the bench. I'm not someone who goes through life looking for the path of least resistance. I act on principle, not sheer opportunity. So I think that's one thing that sets me apart. If I'm elected as a judge, my rulings are not going to be the path of least resistance. They're not going to be the rulings that make me the most popular, or the rulings that get me reelected, or the rulings that appease special interests or donors. They're going to be the rulings that apply the rule of law as our legislature intended, and where appropriate, it's going to be a ruling that curbs the law where the legislature has overstepped their constitutional authority. So I think that that's probably the biggest difference, is that I got into the race on principle. It's proof to you, to every voter in Collin County, that I act on my convictions, and that I'm not someone that's going to be manipulated or manipulative with the law.
Thank you very much. Lon, same question. What do you feel is the one quality you bring to this office that sets you apart from the other candidates running for the 416?
Simply experience. The 416th District Court hears 3 types of cases: criminal cases, civil cases, and family law cases. And as part of the family law cases, they also hear CPS cases. I am the only candidate who can say that I've handled each one of those types of cases from both sides of the bar. I've been a prosecutor. I prosecuted everything from barking dogs to murder. I've been a defense counsel. I'm the only person up there who can say I've tried a first-degree felony jury trial, picked it and tried it. No one else has that experience. I've been the petitioner and respondent in family law cases. I've negotiated $1 million cases in civil on both sides. I've done the CPS cases. I've represented moms, dad, and the children in CPS cases. No one else can say they've done that. Simply my experience. The 416th District Court right now, as of September 1st, is 50% criminal cases. There are 50% of the cases going in there are criminal cases. Right now, it's in the second week of a capital murder jury trial. My opponents, right now, if they were to go and ask and be appointed on a misdemeanor case, couldn't do it. They're not qualified. This is not the time to learn on the fly. This is not the time to try to figure it out as you go along. You need someone who has the experience in dealing with these types of cases. That's what I bring to the bench.
Thank you very much, Lon. Now, if you'll pass that microphone back to Andrea here, to your right. This will be our final question for you this evening. The district courts in Collin County have jurisdiction over cases involving criminal, civil, and family law. What experience do you bring to this office in each of these areas? And some of you touched on that a little bit, but I'd like to ask you more specifically now to address these 3 elements: criminal, civil, and family.
Sure. When someone says that they practiced criminal law or family law, most people kind of know what that means. Civil law is a little more nebulous. I've been a civil litigation attorney, primarily in Dallas, for 7 years. I've practiced in the federal courts in Dallas and also in state courts across the state of Texas, everywhere from Denton County, Tarrant County, Collin County, Hidalgo County, El Paso County. I probably couldn't name them all for you tonight. So I've worked in state courts across Texas on a wide range of civil litigation issues. That includes fraudulent transfers. It includes complex medical product liability cases, insurance defense, premises liability, insurance litigation, a wide range of civil litigation issues that we are going to be seeing in increasing numbers as more and more businesses make their home here in Collin County. We need judges who have experience with employment disputes, with product disputes, with contract disputes, all of these things that are going to be coming up in our district courts. I think that my experience applying all these different civil codes is going to carry over and allow me to apply those same skills to cases arising under the family code or under the penal code, and then I'll be able to use the skills I've gained over the last 7 years to apply the rule of law in every case that comes before the 416.
Thank you very much. Ron, again, the question that we're addressing here, the district courts of Collin County have jurisdiction over cases involving criminal, civil, and family law. What experience do you bring to this office in each of these areas?
Start off in criminal law, because this court has 50% of the cases going into are criminal. I worked 4 years under Tom O'Connell as a Collin County Assistant District Attorney. I tried everything from barking dogs to murder. When I left the District Attorney's office, I went down to touchstone grenades. I did civil litigation. I did insurance defense. The partner I worked on didn't take a case unless it involved $1 million or more. Those were the cases I worked on, complex civil litigation. When I left touchstone grenades, I took insurance defense clients with me. I started my own firm. Got out of the insurance defense, I started doing plaintiff's work. I've done plaintiff's cases involving $1 million claims. I'm currently a criminal defense attorney. I've been doing it for the past 10 years. I'm the only person up here who can say that I've both prosecuted and defended first-degree felony cases. I'm the only person who can say that I've picked jury trials for first-degree felony cases, which is what this court is going to hear. We have 4 courts in Collin County that do primarily the most of the civil law, family law cases, 20% of the docket in the 416th is family law. 50% are criminal. As the county grows, more criminals are coming. And with more criminals, you have bigger criminal cases. This is not the time for somebody to burn on the fly. I've been a petitioner and a respondent in family law cases. I've tried a family law jury trial, picked it and tried it. Only 1 in 10 years, but I did do it. I'm the only person that has experience in every type of case from both sides of the argument.
Thank you very much, Lon. Michael, the question for you again. The district courts in Collin County have jurisdiction over cases involving criminal, civil, and family law. What experience do you bring to this office in each of these areas?
On my years of practice, I have practiced every area of law that will be covered by this court. I began my legal career doing commodities and securities civil litigation in the federal court system. I've handled employment discrimination cases. I've handled complex civil litigation cases. I've handled hundreds of criminal cases during my tenure. But attorneys, as we develop our practices, begin to specialize. And so I'm most proud of the fact that right now I'm the only board certified candidate here today. I have been board certified by the Texas Board of Specialization in family law. Only about less than 2% of the attorneys in the state of Texas are board certified. I'm very proud of that. I take my practice very seriously. I work very hard at it. I think if you were to ask judges and attorneys, and they have been polled over the years by independent polling organizations. I've had the highest rating allowed to attorneys by Martin L. Hubble for the last 17 years. So I believe that experience in those areas will serve me well on the bench.
Thank you, Michael. Andrea, same question for you now. The district courts in Collin County have jurisdiction over cases involving criminal, civil, and family law. What experience do you bring to this office in each of these areas?
Very early in my career, I clerked for a federal magistrate judge. A lot of what we did there in that court was civil cases. I also worked at a large-scale toxic tort law firm very early on, and that was also civil cases as well. I worked for another civil law firm that did civil and probate work. I moved from that into family law, and the remainder of my practice was in family law. This past fall, Governor Abbott's office contacted me and asked me to chair the state commission to review sections of the penal code. So I can assure you I'm going to be very well versed in our penal code before this court takes the bench in January 1. What's really important, though, to know is what the breakdown is of our cases. So you've heard a lot of percentages and a lot of the breakdown. My job in the district clerk's office actually was to manage those cases. And every September 1st, we reset what those case distributions are for the court, depending on how the judges decide what they want the percentages to be. Last year in 2015 in Collin County, we had over 20,000 district court cases filed. Over 10,000 of those, or over 50%, were family law cases. 23% were criminal, 4,600 cases were criminal cases. Only 27% were civil cases. No matter how you slice it, dice it, whatever you do with it, a tremendous percentage of the cases that each of these courts is going to have to hear is family law. It's also growing, unfortunately, at the rate of 13%. Civil and criminal are only growing at the rate of 6%. That's great in the case of our criminal cases. We don't want those to grow any faster than that. But family's growing at the rate of 13%, and it's greater than 50% of what we get, and that's what my background is.
Thank you, Andrea, very, very much. If you pass the microphone now to Michael. Michael, I'm going to ask you to do your closing statement. You have 1 minute.
First of all, thank you all for being here tonight. I believe that I have the greatest range of qualifications for this job. I have, from my legal experience, I have 34 consecutive years of that experience. I've been, and I believe that if you were to ask the attorneys who practice in these courts, they'll tell you that I have been qualified, I am on time, I am prepared, and when I present my cases before the judges, I'm offering solutions. And I believe that that helps me a great deal to become a better judge, because we need to offer solutions out there and not just throw things against the wall and say, judges, fix it. I have a long history of contributing to my community. I've served on school boards, I've served on every money board in the city of McKinney. I have been the chair of the Chamber of Commerce. I chair the state commission that regulates the field of marriage and family therapy. I have the qualities and the background to be able to serve you.
Thank you, Michael, very much. Alon, pass the mic to you, please. 1 moment, one minute, please.
Thank you for having us here tonight. We appreciate that. We all do. I just want to say, I'm a trial lawyer, and being a trial lawyer, being in front of judges, I will tell you that experience matters. It matters a great deal. When you go in front of a judge who doesn't know what's going on, you immediately know that those are the bad judges. Those are the ones you don't want to be like. Those are the ones who have to stop and pull out the code book to see if it applies. This is not the time for that. This is not the time to try to have someone to learn on the fly. I challenge each of you to go and look at our experience. Go to the Texas bar, get our bar numbers, go to the Collin County website and plug it in. See who has the experience with the specific cases in Collin County, Texas. If you do that, you will find that I have more experience than any one of my compadres in each type of case this court will hear. I'm the only one who can say that I've heard every type of case from both sides of the argument.
Thank you, Alon. And now, Andrea, it is your chance for your 1 minute statement.
When I was a third-year law student at SMU, I continued working my way through law school. I would not recommend that to anybody. But I continued working for the attorney that had hired me to clerk for him my second summer. And he decided he was going to sponsor a student law club for me so that I could get into the courtroom and practice arguing before I graduated from law school. And he sent me into court once for my very first hearing against a former Democratic lawmaker. I was not intimidated in the least. There's sarcasm there. It was clear that counsel on the other side had underestimated me. When I got back to the office that day, I had a new nickname. I was the machine gun. I'm used to being underestimated. I tend to perform better when I'm underestimated. And I think it would be a mistake to underestimate what I could do if elected to the 416th District Court. I very much appreciate your consideration and support.
Thank you. If you'll pass that down. Andrea, you will now be the closer for this hearing, please. One minute, please.
I appreciate everybody's time tonight. It really has been my honor the last 4 years to serve you as a district clerk. I'm proud of what I've been able to accomplish in that office, and I think it has really prepared me to move into this next phase in my life, and that's to serve the Collin County citizens further as the judge of the 416th Court. I think it will combine the experience that I have from the clerk's office to efficiently run a courtroom that will save our taxpayers money. It will also combine that with my legal experience, which combines perfectly with our biggest need in the county and our biggest caseload that we hear here in Collin County. I'm proud to have received several endorsements in this race from Empower Texans and Texans for Fiscal Responsibility, from Jody Rushton, who's our most recent past president of the Texas Federation of Republican Women, Kathy Adams, and Grassroots McKinney, and many, many endorsements and support from most of you. So I'm really been honored to serve you, and I would very much appreciate your vote to continue to serve you as the next judge of the 416th, Andrea Thompson. Thank you all.
Thank you, Andrea. Ladies and gentlemen, applause, please. this time, some